terms of good teams, they're one of the worst clutch teams in the league.
Without a doubt.
They have routinely not been able to finish offensively. Quite frankly, Malika, when they get into clutch situations, their numbers make them turn into the Utah Jazz.
See if they can find some space for the easy money sniper. Bring two to the ball. He just stepped on that midcourt line. Durant still scoreless in the second half after 16 in the first 2 quarters. Double team comes. His bounce pass taken away by 8.
Kevin Durant, stop it right there. He should come off the right side of the floor because there's only one guy over there. He decides to go to the left. Too many players on that side. Laker defense junking it up.
They shot 1 for 10 from the field. They went more than 5.5 minutes without making a field goal. They turned a 3-point lead into a 10-point deficit.
It's gotta hurt.
When evaluating Kevin Durant and his career in the NBA, there's no real debate. He's a future Hall of Famer and one of the most gifted scorers the league has ever seen. His ability to put the ball in the basket from virtually anywhere on the floor has defined his legacy for over a decade. That part of his identity is locked in. However, when you shift the focus to everything that's happened after his time with the Golden State Warriors, the narrative becomes far more complicated. For many fans, especially in recent years, that stretch has started to shape how they view him overall. Over the last 5 seasons, if you've been following Durant closely, it hasn't exactly been smooth. From a team success standpoint, the results haven't matched expectations. His playoff series record sits at just 1 win compared to multiple losses, and he hasn't managed to make a deep finals run in that period. On top of that, he's moved across multiple franchises, switching teams 3 times and being traded on 2 occasions, something that signals instability more than dominance. And beyond the on-court struggles, there have been off-court distractions as well. Once again, he found himself tied to controversy involving burner accounts, where criticism of teammates surfaced publicly. Situations like that only add to the growing perception that his post-Warriors chapter has been turbulent rather than triumphant.
I am shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
At this stage of his career, Durant is 37 years old, and what you see is largely what you're going to get. His personality and tendencies are well established. Does he show signs of being emotionally reactive at times? Yes. Has his leadership been questioned? Absolutely. But at the same time, none of that takes away from his undeniable scoring ability. Even now, he remains one of the most efficient and dangerous offensive players in the league. His shooting touch, shot creation, and ability to score in isolation are still elite. That hasn't disappeared. The issue, though, lies in everything outside of scoring. Earlier in his career, certain weaknesses in his all-around game could be masked by team structure or surrounding talent. But now, especially in a situation like Houston, those same limitations are becoming far more visible. The combination of roster construction and age has made it harder to hide those flaws, and they're showing up more consistently in high-level matchups.
Finney-Smith checking into the game for Houston. And the Rockets turn it over.
Houston's going to have to make some more shots around Kevin because they are clearly committed to not letting him catch it and trying to take it out of his hands.
And they took it out of his hands there. Durant knocked away. Durant's pass broken up.
There's good and there's not good. This is not good.
When Durant faces top-tier defenses and elite competition, one recurring problem stands out: decision-making under pressure. Against aggressive defensive schemes, particularly double teams, he often struggles to respond effectively. At this point in his career, you would expect a player of his experience and basketball IQ to dissect those situations with ease. But instead, what we're seeing is hesitation and missed opportunities. While he excels as a scorer, his ability to function as a primary playmaker or facilitator still leaves room for improvement. A perfect example came in a recent matchup against the Denver Nuggets. This was a significant game with potential playoff implications, yet Durant was virtually invisible. He was neutralized to the point where his presence barely impacted the outcome. What makes this more concerning is that Denver, while solid defensively, isn't considered an elite shutdown unit. If a defense at that level can completely remove him from the equation, it raises serious concerns for Houston moving forward, especially when facing even stronger defensive teams in the postseason.
I think our missed shots got him out on the break and was able to get them easy baskets. But yeah, they just capitalized off all of our mistakes. They were traveling, double teaming, just trying to get the ball out of my hands. And then they just didn't respect our shooting, so they were just packing the paint, basically playing his own, just daring us to shoot.
Looking closer at that Denver game, their defensive approach wasn't particularly complex. It was straightforward, disciplined, and effective, but not revolutionary. That's what makes Durant's struggles even more alarming. For fans, seeing a player of his caliber become a non-factor in such a scenario is a major red flag. Because if this is happening against a relatively standard defensive scheme, what's going to happen when he encounters more advanced systems in the playoffs? Breaking it down, there are 3 core issues. First, Durant has never been known as a vocal or commanding leader. Second, he has a tendency to become passive when defenses focus heavily on him. And third, his playmaking and ability to connect the offense aren't at the level required for his current role. Houston is asking him to do everything: score at a high level, facilitate offense, and create for others. The reality is, Durant has historically thrived when focusing on one primary responsibility, not all of them simultaneously. The numbers support this as well. During the 2026 season, there have been multiple games where he's taken 12 or fewer shots. Many of those games came against elite defensive teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, Boston Celtics, and others. In these matchups, a pattern emerges: he becomes passive, fades out of the offense, and allows the defense to dictate his involvement.
Trying to get it in, another steal. Stephon Castle, gear up for showtime!
That's their engine. At some point, the Rockets are going to miss or turn the ball over. Harper's defended really well tonight. Now Durant is harassed and doubled, and the Rockets get turned over.
Be a little bit more fundamentally sound. I'm talking about myself first, and be confident shooting your shots and move forward. I think we also played a little fast too, trying to beat the doubles, trying to beat the swarming defense, and maybe rush into some shots.
As things stand, the Houston Rockets appear to be heading toward a limited playoff ceiling. Realistically, they're looking at a first-round exit, with a second-round appearance being the absolute best-case scenario. The biggest issue is their inability to compete with defensively dominant teams. Squads like Oklahoma City and San Antonio present serious challenges due to their structure and discipline. Even against teams that are not considered elite defensively, like the Los Angeles Lakers, Durant has struggled. In one particular game against Los Angeles, his second-half performance was extremely underwhelming. He shot inefficiently, scored only a couple of points, committed multiple turnovers, and had a negative overall impact on the floor. For a player expected to lead, those are concerning numbers. One of Durant's biggest limitations becomes clear when you compare his current situation to earlier stages of his career. In the past, he benefited from playing alongside elite playmakers like Stephen Curry, Kyrie Irving, and Russell Westbrook. Those players naturally drew defensive attention, making Durant's job significantly easier. In Houston, he doesn't have that luxury. As a result, defenses can focus entirely on him, sending double teams, collapsing zones, and forcing him into uncomfortable situations. What's most concerning is how he responds. Instead of aggressively attacking or adapting, he often becomes disengaged, allowing the defense to take him out of the game. For a superstar, that's a critical weakness. And it leads to a bigger question: if Durant isn't the one scoring consistently, who steps up for Houston? Right now, there isn't a clear answer.
No idea.
Consider this scenario: you have Durant taking a contested mid-range shot versus a wide-open three-pointer from a less reliable shooter. Most teams would still trust Durant to take that shot, even if it's considered inefficient. But Durant's approach tends to prioritize efficiency over aggression. Instead of forcing the issue, he often defers, even when the team needs him to take control. This becomes even more problematic when you look at Houston's lack of offensive creators. Compared to teams like the Lakers, who have playmakers such as Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James, Houston doesn't have players who can consistently generate offense in high-pressure moments. In clutch situations, this gap becomes glaring. Houston's late-game performance metrics are among the worst in the league, including poor shooting percentages, high turnover rates, and a low offensive rating. These are all indicators of a team that struggles when it matters most.
My God, what is that smell?
In theory, Durant was supposed to solve those exact problems. He was brought in to be the closer, the player who takes over in the final minutes and delivers results. But in reality, that hasn't happened. Instead of improving in clutch situations, the team's performance has declined compared to previous seasons. Their record in close games reflects that drop-off, making it one of the biggest disappointments for Rockets fans.
I just feel like it just makes it stagnant. I mean, when I come across half and then You know, they wait on me to drive, but I know they coming to double, so I wait a split second. Like, I just think the whole process is too slow, and I just think that it's all on me because the team, when they see me, it just feel like 1-on-5, to be honest.
At the end of the day, Durant's role is becoming clearer. He's not the type of player who can single-handedly carry a team to a championship as the primary engine. Instead, he thrives as a complementary superstar, a high-level weapon who elevates an already strong system. Throughout his career, his best moments have come alongside elite playmakers who handle defensive pressure and allow him to operate more freely. Without that support, his limitations become more apparent. If you look at teams like Denver, they have a reliable two-man dynamic they can depend on in crucial moments. Houston, on the other hand, lacks that secondary star. Beyond Durant, there isn't a consistent option you can trust in clutch situations. Ultimately, that's the difference. Durant is an exceptional scorer and a valuable piece, but he's not the foundational centerpiece needed to build a championship team from the ground up. And with that, we wrap it up. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.